Players to watch now for the Denver Broncos in Sunday's matchup against the Dallas Cowboys. And Sayre, look, my friend, looking at this matchup from both sides, we did a little bit of a tell the tape. We had a crossover preview earlier with Marcus Mosher, one of the hosts of Locked On Cowboys. And I tell you what, when I'm looking at this matchup on offense and defense, there's a couple players I got my eye on. But let's start off on the offensive side of the ball here today. Who is your offensive player to watch for the Broncos in Sunday's game against the Cowboys?
I can't wait for this, Cody. I can't wait. I feel the offensive breakout coming. And I think if somebody's going to do it, it's got to be the leader on that unit. And I'm not talking about Teddy Bridgewater. I'm talking about Courtland Sutton. I feel like Courtland Sutton has taken on a big leadership role, and he's my player to watch in this game. And I remember from a few years back, the 2018 NFL draft, leading up to draft day itself, the rumors were all about the Dallas Cowboys and Courtland Sutton. The Cowboys, I mean, he went to SMU, so obviously a local product. And I think that would have made a lot of sense back at that time. And I think the Cowboys, they passed on him in round one. I think they definitely would have taken him in round two had the Broncos not done it right before them. So it's a little bit underrated given everything that's been going on, right? I mean, we had the Von Miller trade. We got all this other stuff going on around the NFL. The Broncos just in general kind of in a state of flux. So it's not like the big storyline in this game is, hey, remember the time when Dallas passed on Courtland Sutton? But that's kind of an underlying thing that I'm interested to see. Get Courtland Sutton that opportunity to show the Dallas Cowboys what they're missing and finally get back on. He hasn't had a big game, Cody, in a bit. It feels like we've been missing the big games from Courtland Sutton, and I feel like this is a week that he gets it going against a really, really good competitor in Trayvon Diggs on the other side.
Yeah, and I would even say too, I don't think it's Courtland's fault either. Courtland he's been getting open, and Teddy just hasn't hit him, and Teddy hasn't been finding him consistently. You know, other guys have been getting open. Like last week, it was Tim Patrick and Jerry Jeudy on a couple of plays. You know, Courtland did have the 132-yard catch, but that was really it. And then they stopped going away from him, which is another story in of itself. I like that, and I like the matchup against Trayvon Diggs because look, Trayvon Diggs leads the NFL in interceptions at 7, 11 pass breakups, but he does give up a lot of yardage. And Marcus Mosher had also said that as well. He's like, hey, you know what? He gives up a lot of plays. So this might be a little fun back and forth. And look, I think the last time the Broncos were in the Dome down there in Dallas, guess what? Peyton Manning. It was the shootout between Peyton and Tony Romo back in 2013. Always a great classic game to go back and watch if you're a Broncos fan. But Sayre, I'm going to keep it on the offensive side of the ball from a skill player standpoint. I'm going to go with Albert Okwuegbunam as my offensive player to watch this week. And a lot of it's going to be predicated on the vertical sense. And I do feel like the last few weeks, what we've seen, well, obviously Albert O just returned last week, but last week in general, Albert Okwuegbunam was utilized on more deeper routes than we've seen Noah Fant. Now, look, they intended to go to Noah Fant last week on a deep route. It was almost intercepted. So I think that Albert O right here has a really good opportunity. And right now, we don't know the status truly of Noah Fant going into Sunday's game right now against the Cowboys due to him testing positive for COVID-19. And you have to post 2 negative back-to-back tests in a row. And what we found out from Vic Fangio on Thursday, they had yet to even post a negative test. So not looking very optimistic here for Noah Fant. So I'm going to go with Albert O. And look, it's up to Pat Shurmur. It's up to Teddy Bridgewater to get guys like Courtland Sutton, to get guys like Albert Okwuegbunam a little bit more involved in the offensive attack. And my friend, look, what a better way to do it than against this Dallas Cowboys defense that is going to be very aggressive. So can Denver take advantage? We watched Thursday Night Football this week, and we saw a New York Jets offense, even with a first-year OC, utilize a quick passing game that was efficient. Now, obviously, Mike White went down in that game, but it's just you watch these other offenses for other teams, Sayre, that, you know, quite frankly, don't have the talent that Denver has. And I'm thinking to myself, why in the heck can't Denver get to this kind of standpoint? And a lot of it is due to the coaching scheme, man. It's the offensive scheme. It's the coaching flow of things. We've talked about it here ad nauseum. So I definitely like your selections here of Courtland Sutton. I'm going to go with Albert O. But now let's shift gears here now to the defensive side of the ball here for the Denver Broncos. What a tough matchup this week. Dak Prescott's returning. You have Amari Cooper. You have CeeDee Lamb. You have Ezekiel Elliott. You have Pollard out of the backfield. You have Schultz at tight end. I mean, this is just a game where you're looking at the Broncos defense versus the Dallas Cowboys offense. You're like, man, hopefully you can limit the explosiveness that this offense has because, look, that's what they've demonstrated all year long.
They have, and they can beat you in such a variety of ways, right? And I think that Dallas is the type of offense that they'll be able to kind of figure out early on the ways that they can challenge the Denver Broncos defense to beat them. I think they're going to have to do a lot of making the Broncos defensive backs and linebackers really rally to those running backs that you mentioned, Ezekiel Elliott, Tony Pollard. But my guy to watch in this game defensively, Cody, is going to be Ronald Darby. I feel like he's yet to have that really huge impact game. Of course, he's played well, and those who watch the film notice, Darby plays well when he's been healthy and out on the field. At the same time, I think you sign a guy like that to a 3-year, $30 million contract to come in and have a pretty big impact. So I'm waiting for that big impact. I'm waiting for that game-changing turnover, that fumble that he jars loose on a play that where the Cowboys maybe are kind of just matriculating down the field, getting their guys yards after the catch, and then Darby just bam, pops one out. I'm waiting for a big play like that in coverage or against the run from him or after the catch, something like that from Ronald Darby. I feel like he's due for a big game. Not even just like Courtland Sutton on the other side, because we've seen Sutton have a big game this year. Ronald Darby hasn't quite yet had that big game for the Denver Broncos. So I think maybe this is the week that we get it. Ironically, against one of the best offenses that they face, I think he rises to the occasion. He's got plenty of familiarity with Dallas and their offensive weapons, having played in Washington last season.
Going back on my film review I did of Ronald Darby when the Broncos signed him, one of the games I watched was Dallas. And look, he had some really good one-on-one, man-to-man coverage, cover one, cover zero reps, press man-to-man against guys like Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, and even Michael Gallup, who obviously probably won't play in this game. So he can match up really well. And Ed Donatil gave a little bit of an interesting note on Thursday's press conference. That he said, look, some of our guys are going to have to win some one-on-one. So are the Broncos going to be aggressive, really trying to collapse that pocket around Dak, where you're going to see these one-on-one coverages? So that's going to lead me to my other guy. You brought up Ronald Darby. I'm going to go with Patrick Surtain II here for the second consecutive week, Sayre. And Vic Fangio gave him a lot of praise this week. And look, I think rightfully so. You go back and you watch his tape against the Washington football team, against Terry McLaurin. He put on a clinic. And Sayre, this guy is growing before our eyes. He's becoming the real deal. And this will more than likely, in my opinion, look, I think he's faced some really good receivers so far this year. I thought his coverage against Claypool was good. I thought his coverage against Jarvis Landry, Odell Beckham Jr. on Thursday Night Football a couple weeks ago was good. Terry McLaurin, that was a great coverage game for him, and from that standpoint, against one of the NFL's most explosive wide receivers. This week will be the biggest test to date for Patrick Surtain, because look, he's going to be playing on that left corner side, and often at times they'll put Amari Cooper over there. The Broncos aren't going to be doing a lot of switching. Ronald Darby's going to play right cornerback, which means that he covers the offensive left receiver, which often at times can be Cedric Wilson, it could be CeeDee Lamb, it could be anybody else that's filling in for Michael Gallup. So I'm really excited to see this, because Amari Cooper will be a great test. And look, Alabama versus Alabama, Sayre. This right here, all the storylines that kind of intertwine these teams together, it's going to be very fun to watch. So Patrick Surtain II, his biggest test to date in the National Football League. And look, if he comes out and he has a really big game against the Cowboys, I'm telling you, it's going to be even more of a brilliant pick here by George Paton. And look, even if he struggles, I want to see him make plays, right? If he does get burnt for maybe a 20-yard catch, which I'm not saying he's going to, but if you give up a big play against a really good wide receiving core like this, how do you come back and respond? I mean, his coverage has been tight. And Vic Fangio had even said it this week that where he's inches away from he's got the breakup, right? He's there, he's on the hip. He's just inches away from a pluck rather than a breakup. So I love that. He's close, he's technical, and he's been in the film all week long. And I tell you what, his study level skills from a film standpoint, he recognizes formations really well. I talked to somebody, the Broncos organization, and they had said, hey, look, this guy, he puts in the work, not only just mentally and physically, but he does the preparation from a film standpoint. He knows what formations are coming out and what play concepts they run based on that, wherever the ball is located on the hash, and also down in distance. He understands what the Dallas Cowboys like to do. So this is a big week here for Patrick Surtain II. In Broncos country, it's a big week in general for the Denver Broncos, who are 4-4. They're looking to go a game above 500. Will they do that this Sunday against a very tough Dallas Cowboys team that's only lost one game so far this season, sitting at a 6-1 record? We'll see if the Broncos can become road spoils this week. Sunday, early game is going to be 11 o'clock a.m. Mountain Time kickoff. Sayre Bedinger, myself, we have you covered for the Lockdown Broncos post-game report.